Hey out there. This is December 27th, 2014. I'm in Northern California. It's just about 5 after 9 in the morning now. This is a popular park here. People like to come here and walk their dogs. The sky yesterday was completely blue and not a cloud in the sky. And although these clouds might look natural, they're not. The maggot-ridden, steaming piles of dog crap have been up to their dirty deeds. It's a little more evident looking at clouds like this here. There's one. You can see it pretty good right above me. And nobody gets in trouble for this. There's absolutely no accountability, no liability for problems they might cause in our atmosphere. Just as I pulled into the parking lot, I was thinking, evil has an advantage, and therefore evil people have an advantage over decent people. It's a short-term advantage. The longest it can last is the span of a life, which, nobody knows how long that might be for any individual. But you see, there's a boundary that keeps decent people from engaging in the behavior that allows evil people to rule over decent people. And that is that they're willing to forego their conscience. They're willing to lie, cheat, steal, murder, for example. And decent people cannot do those things. And when decent people do those things, they turn toward their conscience and they appreciate the fact that there's this force drawing them back, pulling them away, and causing them to want to admit and confess their wrongs. Whatever their wrongs, their perceived wrongs may be, it's imperative in order to be forgiven from God for those things, we have to admit, confess them. And decent people are willing to do that. And therefore they have a conscience. They value their conscience. And they value their honor, their integrity. They value having a soul, this idea that you're an eternal being and that God is all powerful and He wants to give us a better reality. He wants us to continue to ascend, to develop, to grow, to evolve, to perfection. And it's going to happen on this earth eventually. God's will always is accomplished. Ultimately, God is in control of evil to the extent that He can be, because He's given evil people freedom of choice. So it's always about free will. And I say temporary advantage because, you see, these people are foregoing their soul, so they're all going to go to a bad place. They've got to. They've bought their own ticket. It's not a vengeful God that's looking forward to the destruction or the banishment. However you choose to look at it, it's really the same thing. I mean, when you go in a dark room, turn on the light, you could say, I banished the darkness, or you could say, I destroyed the darkness. It's basically apples and apples, So it's however you look at it. And which brings me to another point, about economics. Everything comes down to money. It's so important that we all understand fundamental economic concepts in order to understand how the evil people get away with what they do. They're underhanded. They lie, so they deceive. Deceit is just a branch of lying. It's just a tricky way of lying. It's a half truth. Throw a little truth in, but lie, like, it's talking out of both sides of your mouth. Like I see Obama do it. I'll tell you, he talks great. He sounds like an egalitarian sometimes, and then I look at his policies. I look at the fact that he took the big bankers side in the whole 2008 bailout, and since then, I mean, things have just gotten worse under Obama. The wealth disparity has grown tremendously. The debt has grown tremendously. The debt is always put on the backs of the poor through debased currency. Poverty has grown. More and more people seem to be falling through the social welfare cracks. So we're all living in fear. And this fear is very important for everybody to understand how important it is that these evil people that are ruling over us have this fear factor. This is reverence. This is the way that an evil person extracts reverence. This is how they keep you beholden, enslaved to their policies and their whims, is through fear. It's intimidation. They even though they don't need your taxes, for example, they'll demand you pay at the threat of taking your possessions, taking your freedom, taking your money, whatever it may be. It's very frightful and intimidating. It's terrorizing. It really is a form of terrorism, the way the government works. And that brings me to another point. I mean, let's define government. What are we talking about there? It's like we're in Babylon. We all speak in different languages. Nobody knows. I mean, you say government, and it's a really bad thing to one guy, and it's a really good thing to another guy, and another guy, he's not even sure. He's an agnostic in terms of having an opinion about what government, good or bad, or just is the gray area. So it's imperative, in order to have a productive discussion, to always be able to define the word, how we're using it, because as we all know, some words have many meanings. We just have to be sure which meaning exactly we're talking about. And when it comes to government, I say in America, that is supposed to be we the people, you and I. I'm the government. So if you want to pay your taxes, it's every bit as legitimate to send your check to me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, this guy pays, this guy, takes. It's all it's mumbled up so that, we really don't know what the hell's going on. They muddy the waters intentionally. Economics does not have to be convoluted, but they make it convoluted in order. It's a form of deceit to keep you off balance. But if you understand fundamental simple truths like understanding supply and demand principles, for example, and how at this day and age, at this point in history, humanity at large has found very simple methods of supplying an overwhelming surplus, an excess of the things, not only the things they need, but also of the things they want. So there's plenty of everything for everybody to have all the trinkets they want. The greatest, and niceties. So the greatest asset we have is our workforce. Always, labor is a willing workforce. And who can say we don't have that? That's why I say never blame the poor people, as if they've got some moral deficiency and they're bad, because that's the kind of perception that our secular society wants to put on the poor, like something's wrong with them. They must be lazy or stupid or drug addicts. Maybe they've got bad genetics. Something's wrong. Something's got to be wrong. These are trailer trash, and bums and hobos, and so, we deride them. And God help anybody that does that, because you're all going to hell. You get to go hang out with the elitists who have caused these problems. When you see poverty, that's the effect of an unjust system, okay? I have a daughter that recommended I watch or she told me she had watched a video. Injustice for All. It's a documentary by Robert Reich, and I would recommend you see it. But after watching the whole movie, at some points in the movie, I really felt drawn to this man. I felt like he's a really egalitarian. And then I find out he worked in the Clinton administration, and I think he said the Reagan, several administrations he worked in. He has an economics consultant or something to that effect. I can't remember the exact term of the office, but it was in economics. And of course, as we know, Clinton economics were a disaster. So, I wonder, but he only made it the first 4 years in Clinton's term because he became too outspoken. And he had a conscience, apparently. And he knew that, the things that were happening, like the deregulation in the banking industry, was a big mistake. Hey, puppy. So he was ousted, basically. Clinton chose somebody else to come into office. And so Robert Reich was out on his can. And he's teaching now down at UC Berkeley, California. And I'm pretty impressed. I've actually got a niece that took his class, so I feel like I've got a little tie to this guy. But I wouldn't mind working with the guy collaboratively. But I didn't see him bring up any of the points that are so vital that I think we all understand. And basically it's so simple. It really is. You can't see the forest for the trees. Because if you want to understand how we should be looking at things from how we are looking at things, it's a 180-degree difference. Okay, the way we should be looking at things is we're born on a planet. There's a lot of mystery involved, but we know we are cosmic creatures. We are at the top of our intellectual food chain. We can all see that. We have to say, well, there's got to be, a creator, this force for good that's loving us. I can feel it. I feel like all these gifts of life and beauty and wonderment are all around me, all the flora, all the fauna, the whole universe to contemplate, this galaxy, our solar system, how everything works like a fine Swiss watch, and we've got to say, well, if that's the case, and we behold the truth that all men are created equal, all men and women, of course, we're all equal. We're God's children, made in the image and likeness of God, we're told in Scripture, and all the great teachings from ages, we're all taught that we're very special, endowed with great intelligence and great potential to excel and to grow, to think and to create, to invent, to engineer, and we understand then that this planet that we're born onto does not belong to any one group of individuals. If you're looking at things logically and reasonably, you understand fundamentally that this planet belongs to all of us equally, that we are all kings and queens over this earth, and that if any man should step up and exalt himself and say, no, you're born subservient to me, okay? I have, through this reality I've invented, I've conjured up, basically, with these magic pieces of paper, these money, that's it. This is what it is. It's magic. This is how we have been taken. Like Jesus said, it's the root of all the evil. So if something's bugging you, like abortion, you see the divorce rate, the broken homes, a lot of this is tied to economics, a lot of the suicides, all these nuanced things. The vast majority of the crime, all the dubious warfare, you're not going to get guys to go off to dubious warfare, okay, unless they need a paycheck, okay? This is where the reverence, the fear comes in. They've got us all afraid, dependent on their money. They've got us all trained into their reality, 180 degrees opposed to the true reality that exists, the reality that our Father wants to give us, that's God, our divine parents want to give us, is this reality where we're all born free, okay, beholden to no man. We're letting our conscience be our guide. When it comes out and utilizing our talents and serving one another, we will do it. of our own. They don't want you to figure this out. They, okay, the evil rulers of this world that convolute your understanding of these basic, simple truths. So you think it's just so far-fetched, pie in the sky, pipe dreaming, idealistic, utopian thinking. But really, it's not at all. This is the reality that we could have today, and it is coming. And I just want to be a small cog in the wheel of helping these things, usher them in through helping people to understand what to expect, what is coming, because good is coming to this earth. Humanity, decent humanity, will be set free, no matter how the evildoers kick, and scream and holler, cry bloody murder, but they're going down. They have to. Good must